Hello, wonderful people, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Chioma of Chioma Stitches, and today we are going to be making a two-piece. We're going to be sewing a two-piece, and if I open up this fabric, guys, it's so cute. I can't wait for you guys to see it. But this is a pattern, a trouser pattern I drafted for the same measurement, okay? And this is the beauty of pattern drafting. I get to use the same pattern that I drafted for the same measurements over and over. Okay, so makes my work easier and I can fit in a whole tutorial into one video because I already have a drafted pattern. So I'm going to leave the link in the description box below, the link to the drafting of this pattern so you can check it out. And all right, so we're going to be making some alterations for this pattern to fit into what we are trying to make today. So here is a pattern up close. This is the back piece. As you can see, the crotch area is a bit wider and more steep than that of the front piece, where the crotch area is kind of shallow, as you can see. All right, so and if you look at the back piece at this part, this is the center back. You can see that it's higher, it's sloping higher than the obvious length, obvious waistline. All right, and this is because of the back, to accommodate the back of the dress or the back of the person for the booty area. So if you have big butt, you can have this extension up to 1.5 inches or 2 inches. And but this one, what we have here is about 1.3 or 1.4 inches. So just definitely go through the drafting tutorial of how we drafted this trouser pattern. And as you can see, it's a full trouser length, but I am going to be making a short today, and so I am going to alter this to fit in what I need. And you can see this pencil mark over here. This is the mark that I have made. This is the mark I have made so that I can use it as a guide. That is the length of the short we're making. So the short is about 17 inches long, and what you have after that is the sewing allowance. And I am not going to be using stitches to sew it. I'm going to iron it using my hemming gum. So I've shown you guys what hemming gum is in this channel severally, and I'm going to show it again when I am ready to iron this after cutting out the pattern. So let's quickly go into altering this pattern so that we can get exactly what we want out of it. Definitely stay to the end of the video, okay? And if this is your first time, you're welcome to join us. And for those who are the old subscribers, thank you so much for sticking around with me. I'm very grateful to have all of you. And so please, if you haven't subscribed already, if you're a new visitor, you've not subscribed, do well to subscribe. You will enjoy it here. I drop beautiful contents every now and then, interesting tutorials that you would like to check out. Like, I have so much already on the channel, you can go through them. So definitely consider subscribing, and you can turn on your notification bell so that whenever I drop a new video, you'll be notified. And so guys, stick around to the end of the video to see how we make this magic. All right guys, let's jump right into the alterations. And so to save time, I had to already pin the patterns down on the fabric, starting from the length which I actually need up to, here. And then, so now what I'm going to be taking out are the pattern piece, the part of the pattern I do not need for this particular two piece I'm making. First one is the dart. So I am going to be taking out the dart because this shirt will not be having a dart. So I am folding in the dart. So I'm going to fold it in and I will pin it down so that I can draft this pattern without the dart. This is why you have to first pin down the pattern before you start your alteration. Let me do the same thing for the front piece. Okay, so now that we have the darts taken out, okay, now the next thing we're going to be altering after taking out the dart is the band. Now this dress is already having a band that is inbuilt because the measurement is taken directly from the waistline. So we can choose that the band is about 1.5 inches. If that be the case, then I'm going to be taking out 1.5 inches away from this band, from the top of the shorts. So from the top of the pattern, I'm going to be taking out 1.5 inches round. Now we've taken out the dart and we've marked out our band. Now this band that I'm taking out, we will still use it. Okay, I'm still going to bring it back depending on how high you want your short to be. Okay, for this is directly from the waistline. So if I decide when I'm making this dart, I could decide that when I'm adding the band, I'm going to use a 1/2 inch band or 1 inch band. In other words, eliminating 1/2 inch from the band that we have here. So however we're doing it, or if I also decide that when I'm cutting out the pattern, when I take out the 1.5 inch dart band, I am not going to be adding sewing allowance to the top of the pattern. That way, reducing another one and another 1/2 inch from the pattern. And then if I make my band 1 inch, that will not make that automatically means that I've removed the whole 1 inch from the band. So in other words, however you want it. If you don't want this to be high waist, I suggest you take out about 2 inches from the band, okay, and then use only 1 inch band to replace it if you don't want it to be high waist. Or if you want it to, if you don't want it to be too high, or you can reduce as much as 2.5 inches from this pattern. Okay, I can take out 2.5 inches from this pattern, and at the end of the day, what I'm adding to it is maybe 1/2 inch or 1 inch band. That way, taking away 1.5 inch from it, and making that that's going to make sure that our short is not high waisted. All right. So for this one now, I'm going to be using a high waisted band for it. And the zip of this dress, we're going to be fastening it with a zip, and the zip is going to be on the side. So to add my sewing allowances, I'm going to come here. I'm using the same permanent marker, and this is because I am sure of what I'm doing here, and I'm going to be using exactly what I do here. So if you want to use a permanent marker on your fabric, be sure that you've taken accurate measurements and you will be no need for alteration, because there's a very high chance that this marker is going to reflect on the right side of the fabric. Okay, so I'm going to be adding the sewing allowance of 0.75 inch, and I'm going to spread it all around the crotch area. And then for the side, I'm going to be adding 1 inch seam allowance. Okay. And on this side, 1 inch as well. So I can as well go ahead and cut out this pattern, and I can cut the pattern with the top of the band, and then I will take out the band afterwards. Okay. Okay, so this is it. I'm going to take out the pins. Okay, so now I can mark out the 1.5 inch for the band. So now taking out this band, I will decide whether I want to use the same 1.5 inch to replace it as a band, or if I want to use I use something more smaller, maybe 1 inch as a band. Now, if you want to use the same 1.5 inch as the band, and you want it to be this high, like very high waist, it means you also add 1/2 inch. You also add 1/2 inch to join the band to the trouser part, to the shirt. Okay, now because if I take out this from here exactly, which means I have not added 1/2 inch for joining. In other words, if I replace it with 1.5 inch, I've indirectly taken out 1/2 inch from the band. And also, if I decide to cut it out from here and then replace it with only 1 inch band, which means I've taken out a whole 1 inch from the band. Okay, and now that is looking like what I'm going to do. So I'm going to go ahead and cut out from here. That when I'm replacing it, I'm going to use a band that is just 1 inch to replace it, and I'll add 1/2 inch to the band just to attach it. That way, when I'm done, I would have removed the whole of 1 inch from the length of the shirt. So I'm going to cut this out now. So note, the reason why I had to take out the dart because I don't want a dart on the trouser, on the shirt. So and the dress has a bit of stretchiness to it. And here is the hemming gum we're going to be using to hem the edges of this dress. So I'm just going to go ahead and lay it down like so, fold it once to cover the hemming gum, and use my steam iron to steam it together and have it together like so. I'm going to do that for all of these edges and there will be no need for hemming with the machine. And now to draft the shirt part of this dress, the full length of the shirt is going to be 29 inches. So I'm going to be measuring 28 inches because 1 inch is going to be for the hemming. So I'm going to mark 20. I'm going to be marking 30 inches. So what I'm going to be drafting here is the back pattern, because for the front pattern, we are going to be using the back pattern to draft the front pattern. Okay. All right. So the shoulder we're working with is 7.5 inches. And so I'm going to be marking out 7.5 inches. We have our 1 inch shoulder slanting, and then you mark out the armhole. And so to get the armhole, we divide the bust 39 by 6 and add 1.5 inches, and we get 8 inches. And so I'm going to go ahead and mark the 8 inches. And then to get the armhole curve, I am going to fold my tape in half to get the half of the armhole line. And what I have here is 4 inches. I'm going to come in by half of an inch. I'll use my straight ruler to connect this line to the 1 inch shoulder slanting. Okay, and then I'm also going to use my curved ruler to curve the armhole. And then to get the neckline, I'm going to be dividing the bust 39 by 12, and I have 3.25. So I'm going to go ahead and mark the 3.25 for the neckline. And for the back, I'm going to be using half of an inch for the curve of the back, obviously. And then I'm connecting that neckline to the 1 inch shoulder slanting. And so for the curve of the neckline for the back, I'm using just half an inch to curve it. Okay, knowing also that I'm going to be using this pattern to cut out the front piece. Okay, so next I'm going to be inputting the other measurements of the body, but first I'm going to go ahead and use pins to hold down this fabric so that it will stop moving, so that when I'm cutting it, I will not be cutting a shifted fabric. Okay, to mark the shoulder to the bust line, I have 11 inches, so I'm just creating 11 inches with my free hand. And then I have from there to the hip line is about 25 inches. So I'm marking 24 inches for the hip line, okay, because we want this to be longer than the hip line, obviously. And so I'm going to be dividing the hip measurement by 4. So hip 41 divided by 4, and I'm just marking 11 inches because I want it to be a bit free, because it's going to be a free shirt. And then the bust divided by 4, I decided to also mark about 10 inches. Instead of using the actual measurement, I am using 10 inches for the bust measurement. Okay, and so I'm just going to go ahead and connect this line from the bust measurement all the way to the hip line, like so. All right, so next thing, for the end of this shirt, I am going to be curving the side of the dress. And so to curve it, I am going to come up by, say, 3 inches or 4 inches. So I'm marking 3.5 inches, and from there I'm using my free hand, or I can also use my ruler to curve it. I'm going to use my ruler. This is not curvy enough. Let me get the other ruler. So this other ruler is a bit curvier, and I'm going to be using it to curve it to get me a curved line that will be perfect for what I want. Okay, so I'm just going to use my marker and mark this out. Basically, this is the pattern we need, but because we are drafting this on the main fabric, I am going to be adding 1 inch sewing allowance on the sides. So I'm just going to add 1 inch sewing allowance starting from the armhole to the bust area, and I'll also add quarter of an inch allowance at the armhole, so that we can use it to add the sleeve of this dress to it. Okay, now that I'm done adding the allowance, I'm going to go ahead and cut on my pattern. But first, let's pin it so that this pattern does not shift. Like I mentioned, if I have to cut this pattern like this without pinning it, it's going to shift, and then maybe the one under will not be the same measurement with what I am cutting. So now that I've pinned it down, let's go ahead and cut out our back piece. As you can see, I placed the back piece 2.5 inches away from the edge of the front piece, and this 2.5 inches is going to be 2 inches is for for hemming the fabric, so that we can put our buttons and buttonholes and whatever you need to do, you need for the fastening. Okay, and then half an inch there will be for this allowance we are going to fold in by 2 inches to overlap each other. So we're going to fold this by 2 inches. By the time you fold it 2 inches, it's going to align. So I'm going to go ahead and cut out this pattern. I'm just going to flip it the other way around so that I can properly alter it while it's facing me. So the one under is the front piece, and it is 2.5 inches wider than the one on top, which is the back piece, and every other measurement on the side is the same. And now it's time to cut out the neckline for the front piece. I'm just going to transfer these pins to hold both of them together. For this front piece, I'm going to be coming down by the same number we used for the width. We used 3.25 for the width. I'm going to come down by 3.25 is as the depth for the front piece, and that is the same thing we use as the width. So I'm going to move this up here and then use the curved ruler to connect these two lines together. Now I can go ahead and cut out this pattern, and then I am going to open the front piece in and cut it in half. Taking out the pins. So this is our fabric. Look at how beautiful this fabric is. So I'm placing the back piece like so, and these ones are going to come here like this. So this is it. So this is our shirt pattern, and I'm going to I'm going to go ahead and join the shoulders before I can take the measurement of the neckline. Then I'll use the measurement of the neckline to cut out the collar after I've joined the shoulders together. And so now I want to cut out the sleeve of this shirt dress. It's not the normal kind of sleeve that's going to have a fitted cuff. This particular one, the cuff is free. It's as free as from the elbow all the way to the wrist side. And so you can see that I've folded in a part of the sleeve. This is going to be the cuff. I am folding in this part as the cuff. So the full sleeve is about, the complete sleeve is about 23 inches, and now I have folded in about 3.5 inches, and that is going to be the cuff. The cuff is quite bold and not fitted. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is add the sewing allowance I'm going to use to sew it here, and then I'll cut it out. Also, this is the pocket bag, and I'm going to be cutting out the pockets as well, because this pattern was drafted with the band included, which means when I'm cutting it out, I'm going to take out the 1.5 inch we took out for the band, which means when I'm cutting it out, I'm going to take out the 1.5 inch we've taken out for the band part, and then I am going to be cutting whatever is left and adding sewing allowance on the side and every part of it. Okay, so let's go ahead and cut out this pattern. Okay, and now to complete the band, I'm going to be folding this in half. I'm folding this in half, and I'm going to be adding my 1/2 inch sewing allowance, and I'm going to use it to complete this. Okay, so I'm folding in half so that at the end of this was going to have a very neat finish, as you can see. And I'm just going to use this same one to repeat the same thing here to cut out this one as well. And so now I'm going to open the sleeve pattern, place the other one on top of it so that I can cut out the difference between the front and the back pattern. Okay, this part is the front and this is the back, and the difference is like 1/2 inch. I'm going to go ahead and trim out the 1/2 inch difference from the front pattern. And now the next thing I'm going to do is show us how we're going to be attaching the cuff of the sleeve. Now to attach the sleeve cuff, to attach the cuff of the sleeve is going to be pretty simple. I am just going to go ahead and place it like so, and I will match on it using 1/2 inch. So when I open it, it's going to look clean, so that after using overlocking stitch to lock it, you may not decide if you want to top stitch it or not, or leave it the way it is. Okay, so I am going to pin this down like so. And if you look at the direction of the curve, you will see that the direction of the pattern of this curve is going different. It is going a different direction from the direction of the upper bodies, and this is on purpose because I am recreating a design. And so you cut your sleeve, the curve, to be a bit different, having a different direction from direction of the pattern that the main part of upper part of the sleeve is having. Okay, so when you are cutting yours, if you want to replicate this design, the way you cut out the way you fold your fabric when you are cutting the upper part of this sleeve, you will reverse it to cut the band so that the band will not have the same direction. Okay, so I have ironed the down part of the shirt. As you can see, I've used stay. I placed stay inside and folded it once and then steamed it with a steam iron, and look at how neat it's looking here, looking very neatly finished. Okay, I've done the same thing for the other sides of it. This is the front piece and this is the back piece as well. I have done the same thing for the back piece. Okay, now this is the band. This is the band, the trouser band. I've cut two pieces, one for the front, one for the back, and this is 1.5 inch. Like I said, this is 1.5 inch, so I'm going to be sewing with half of an inch and the band will be left with just 1 inch. Okay, I will attach this after joining them together. So now, and this is the sleeve. I have also sewn the sleeve. As you can see, I've sewn the sleeve with a straight line and ironed it. Look at how clean the sleeve is looking. I'm going to set the sleeves aside. Okay, and then for the front piece of the shorts, I am going to be attaching the pockets. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to take one layer of the pocket and I'm going to place it on here like so, and I'm going to go ahead and sew. So I might decide to leave 0.75 inches and then start sewing. I'm going to go in here like so. I will sew with 1.5 inch inside, and then I'm going to come down and sew all the way to like 7 inches or 6.5 inches. Okay, so let's see what I have here. So I have 7 inches here to 7 inches, and I'm going to make a box. So I'm going to sew like this, and come out like this. I'll do it for both the front, both the two pieces of the front. So I'm going to go ahead and make this sewing. Sew here like this and come sew like this and come here, and then I'll bring it back to show what next I'm going to do to keep this looking super clean. And then for this back piece, I'm going to go ahead and sew with half of an inch or 3/4 of an inch like so, and keep it clean. This is the front part of the shirt, and I have gone ahead to sew on the 1.5 inch like so. So next, what I'm going to do is open here. I'm going to go ahead and open here up close to the stitch. Make sure not to cut through. Don't cut through, and do the same thing here. Okay, then I'm going to open it up like so, and I'm going to go ahead and sew here. I will run a stitch, top stitch on the pocket, not on the fabric. I'm going to top stitch on the pocket, so I'm going to top stitch it like so all the way up onto this side. I will do the same thing here as well. Here, and then this is the back piece. The back piece, I have joined it together, as you can see. So I have top stitched it on the pocket piece like so, and now I am going to take the other pocket cover and I'm going to be placing it on it like this, and I'm going to sew like this all the way like this, like I have done here. Look at this. I placed the pocket cover on it and I went ahead and sewed like so. Now you can also put a hemming gum under here and iron it properly so that it will lay perfectly and it will not be opening up on its own. I will do that later. And so this is what I have. So this is it. There's an opening here obviously. So, and this is the This is the top stitching on top of the pocket piece, and so I am only pinning this together so that it will keep it together until I attach the top. So I'm going to repeat the same thing here. Sew this, and then I am going to bring it together and sew here, and then I'm going to go ahead and sew here with 1/4 inch, and I'll bring it back. So I have added the other part. I have added it, and then I've sewn the pocket cover for the other side, and so both of them are now looking clean, and I've ironed it, and I have joined the front pieces together, as you can see, and I just use this pin to hold the pocket to the body of the short so that when I attach the band, it will not move. So to attach this band, I'm going to be sewing it exactly the way I sewed the cuff of the sleeve. So I'm just going to turn it to the right side like this, place it here, and sew with 1/2 inch all the way to the end, like I have done for the back piece. So I have sewn it, look at this, sewn it with just one straight stitch and then ironed it, and this is it looking really cute. Okay, so this is the upper part. This is the shirt. I'm just gonna lay it. I have hemmed the shirt with 1 inch folders wise, as you can see. I've hemmed it, and this is the other side, also neatly hemmed, as you can see. So what I'm going to do now is take my tape, and I have also sewn the shoulders, as you can see here. So I'm going to be taking my tape, and I'm going to measure all of this. I'm going to measure this to find what I need for the neckline, and this I have 20.5. I have 20.5 here, and so I'm going to take my pieces 21 inches. So I'm cutting out 21 inches by 4.8 inches. The first part is going to be on fold, and that is going to be our 2.8 inches, while the other one is going to be 2 inches. What we're cutting out is a straight point collar. Okay, so after cutting it out, marking it out, the 2.8 inches and 2 inches, I'm just going to go ahead and cut it out. So after cutting it out, the one that is on fold, I'm going to go ahead and come in by 1 inch on both sides. By 1 inch here first, and then from this 1 inch, I'm going to come in again by another 1 inch. Mark 1 inch here, and then I'm going to use a straight ruler to slant this 1 inch to meet this other 1 inch over there. So I have this like so, and then I'll do the same thing for here. I'll mark in 1 inch here, and from this 1 inch, I'm going to come here and rule this to meet this place here, slanted. Okay, and now to cut this pattern out, I'm going to be pinning this together. And then this, I'm going to be cutting this like so. So now I'm going to go ahead and sew here and sew here, and I'll be back. Okay, so I've gone to sew it on both sides. Now I'm going to open it up. I'm going to find the middle, put it together and get the middle. And then this one, I'm going to find the middle of, take out the pins, take out the pins, open it like so, find the middle of this one, so I'm going to place this like this, take middle to middle, place it here. And so I'm going to go ahead and take the other piece, place it on top of it and pin all of them together, like transfer all the pins and pin them all together. I'm going to go ahead and run a straight stitch here and bring it back. So I have sewn it like so all the way, and if you notice, I left half of an inch up here, and then I sewed from half of an inch here all the way, and I stopped here. So now I'm going to take out the pin. Let me go and press this. I want to go and iron it. I have ironed it. As you can see, it has been neatly ironed. And so I'm going to fold the shirt in half and then merge it to the middle of the collar, and I'm going to pin it from one end to the other, and I'm going to go ahead and take it to the machine, and I will sew it from one end to the other, starting from the half an inch that I opened up when I was sewing it. Okay, so I have sewn the first part. So now I'm going to be folding the second part, and I'm going to go ahead and top stitch it. I'll fold it in like this, and I'm going to go ahead and top stitch it straight, and then I'll bring it back. Then we can start adding the sleeve of the shirt and then finish off the shirt. And so I'm going to go ahead and sew. I'm going to sew the sleeve all the way to the end. This is it, and this is the pocket. So you can see how cute this baby looks. So I have ironed it. This is the back piece. The back looking so clean. Okay. So now I am going to place them. And so this is the zip. The zip is going to be going from here till say here. So I am going to sew here down and sew here from here to here, and then I will sew here and here this way. And here, as you can see, I have sewn it. I have gone ahead to sew the sides together. Okay, and so I'm turning it inside out so you can see the outside looking so clean. Don't forget to use the overlocking stitch to overlock the inside, so the inside is going to look as clean as the outside. So look at it, it's already taking shape. So we're going to go ahead and put the buttons, and so it will all come together. So I have sewn the zip as well, as you can see. Also do the overlocking stitch for the shorts. So look at the short looking so clean from the back. Here is the shorts. As you can see, I've used the overlocking machine to weave it and to keep it clean. So this is it inside out. Here's the front. So I'm going to put this on the mannequin so we can see. And then here is the shirt. Here's the shirt. Let me turn it inside out as well. So these are the buttons. I've fixed the buttons. So there's a machine for this. If you have the machine, you can fix the buttons, or however you do yours, just go ahead and fix the buttons. This is it. And the button holes have been created. So I'm going to put this on the mannequin and we'll see. And then if you look at this place, you see that I weaved here. I used the overlocking machine to weave here once because of the so many curved areas, so that it will be neat when I hem it. And now that I have weaved here, I'm just going to fold it once and top stitch it. I'm going to fold it once like this and go ahead and hem it all around, and then I'll put it on the mannequin so we can see we're done. Okay guys, we'll come to the end of the class, and I just want to show us how I finished it off, and this is it. So I just hemmed it once, and this is it. And so guys, if you've not subscribed to this channel at this point, please don't forget to subscribe and turn on your notification bell so you get notified anytime I drop a new video, which is very often these days. And so you can stay connected and get to see all our content. And for the old subscribers, I want to say thank you so much, guys. You guys are my rock, and I'm very happy to have you guys, and thank you for staying with me. And so see you all in my next sewing tutorial. Bye bye.